Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. Happy Friday. Happy Memorial Day weekend to everybody out there. We've got some tea to get to. That's right. We still are bleeding out tea from Gabby and Rachel's season, and Clayton as well. Rachel and Gabby spill tea on sliding into Ben Higgins' DMs, but that's not really the good one. But we'll definitely listen to that. But we actually hear from Rachel and talking about all of the resentment she was holding on to, how she let go of it, and also their thoughts on Susie. It's actually pretty interesting. You can very clearly see here, at least from my opinion, I'd love to hear yours, that there's definitely a rift there. I think there are no contact. I don't think they're all friends, folks. We're going to get into this right now. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals, patreon.com/Dave Neal for behind the scenes bonus content, and every afternoon Bachelor Rush Hour, the hit podcast. Today's Bachelor Rush Hour is going to feature my conversation with Jess Ambrose. She was the founding member of Chatty Broads and Now Your Mom and Dad Pod. And here's a quick clip of my conversation with her. I haven't even released this yet on social media, but this will be available this afternoon in its entirety. It's a great interview. Have a listen.
I've always loved podcasts, and my husband works in the music industry, so he had this studio that he would work out of in the back of our house. And I asked him, I'm like, could you set up like a podcast station for me if I wanted to do it? He said, sure. And so I'm trying to think, I'm like, I'm not going to do this by myself. And right away I thought of Becca. She was coming off the show. She had just announced that she was pregnant. Her and I had talked about being moms and our pregnancies and all of that. And I'm like, I'm just going to shoot my shot. And we were at the Comedy Store with a group of friends one night, and I just pulled her aside. I'm like, I know this is so random because we don't really know each other, but I'm thinking about starting this. Would you be interested? And lo and behold, she showed up the next week and was like, let's do this thing.
Then you guys created a real cultural movement there. I mean, your podcast is one of the biggest podcasts
Well, it's background
of
music.
Bachelor Nation. And at what point did you realize, like, oh, this isn't necessarily just like a fun thing to do, but this is like a business. Like, this is actually lucrative.
Okay, so you can check out that full interview on today's Bachelor Rush Hour podcast. I got to tell you, I got to change that music. It got a little too loud on the end. I'm still tweaking the audio there. Okay, so let's get into this interview here. Here we have Gabby and Rachel talking about their experiences, and we're going to hear some shade thrown at Susie.
Basically do it and feel desired and like, I'm going to just get back out there. And I did really, really soon. Like, it was immediately after our finale. And I mean, obviously he was great and it was awesome.
How did you meet? Like, were you meeting guys when you were trying to date?
I really only dated one person.
Okay.
And I haven't dated really anyone in like 6 months. He was the last person I dated because I think when that kind of ended, everything kind of like in a way came crashing down where I had to really kind of realize what this whole year had been, like a failed engagement, everything that happened on The Bachelor. And I was really able to like take that time to heal. And
yeah, the way she talks about it, a failed engagement, like I totally understand, but leads who have been on the show, don't take it personally. It's like, it never works out. You know what I mean?
Like, accept what had happened. And so, yeah, I've been single and it's been really, really nice, honestly.
Susie, like, who's like the third of you guys from Clayton's season. Yeah. She recently said that she pictures a relationship between you and Clayton to have made more sense.
Unhinged. Yeah, we heard that. I don't
So they call Susie unhinged, or at least her take unhinged.
Understand that.
You don't,
you
really don't like that
about like the guy you were with for
it's just
however many
hard.
months. Yeah, that was hard, I think, for me to hear because I mean, they had a really serious relationship for months. And I obviously only knew Clayton on the show and what aspect that was. So I think that would hurt me in a way if I had heard someone say that about me who has dated me for that long. But I don't know.
So she says she feels like Clayton should be offended. She says that would hurt Clayton.
And it's like, you've moved past it. You've had a whole life outside of it. And I'm sure you've learned a lot from being on Bachelor, but like you've had a lot of experiences since then. So just to kind of assume like, oh, this should happen is like really not taking you into consideration.
Okay. And so I have to just play court martial Dave here. Gabby, her critical thinking on this issue is so far off. Okay. We have to re-listen. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go back to what actually was said here, because they're taking an idea from Susie, saying, oh, Susie said Clayton should date Gabby. Or, sorry, Susie says Rachel should date Clayton. And that's just not what was said. And it was on the same podcast. While Susie said she's unsure if Rachel and Clayton would work out as a couple, she maintained that Rachel is more compatible with her ex than she is. Susie's comments came after Rachel and Clayton made headlines for their recent flirty reunion on TikTok. Rachel addressed the unexpected social media post on the Ben and Ashley I Almost Famous podcast, revealing she initially had no idea what to expect when she realized she would be reunited with Clayton. So there's nothing about Susie's statement that is offensive whatsoever. Let's listen to Gabby's summation of that one more time.
You've moved past it. You've had a whole life outside of it. And I'm sure you've learned a lot from being on Bachelor, but like you've had a lot of experiences since then. So just to kind of assume like, oh, this should happen is like really not taking you into consideration.
So Gabby says to assume this should happen. So Gabby is saying that Susie's not taking Rachel's feelings into consideration. Am I getting this right, folks? I'm not trying to make drama where there's not, but what you see is that Gabby's sort of misremembering what was said in a way to maybe fulfill her own opinions on Susie. Does this make sense? Am I just the middle child here trying to stir things up? Because that's not what Susie said whatsoever.
During our trip to Carmel a couple of months ago, you and Clayton did like have some sit down chats and stuff. How's your relationship been since? Like, do you guys text?
Not really.
Let's see them.
Let's see their receipts. Not really. I mean, here and there, he did send me his book. It's been nice to have like a friendship with him, and like with Zach now, I really feel like I've been able to like.
Because as we saw, Zach was in the same limo or Uber with Rachel, and like Chris Harrison was there as the strangest pairing ever. But of course, Rachel Recchia, and whom, by the way, would I love to have her on Driving with Dave, because I love her humor and I love her ability to make light of what was a very bizarre, season. But it's bizarre for all of them, so just like don't take it too personally. But yeah, Zach, of course, when he was telling his story about life, on his season of The Bachelor, I wouldn't say threw Rachel under the bus, but he was talking about how weird the fantasy suite was, and he didn't get what he was looking for. And when you talk like that, it implies the other person wasn't good enough for giving it to you.
I don't know. I was holding on to so much resentment with, I feel like, everyone, and being able to like kind of come together and really talk things out and apologize to them. It's been really nice. So we'll keep doing this. Just bring all my exes on.
Okay, cool. It's nice therapy. Well, let's talk about that meeting with Zach. I know we talked about it also on our Hyundai episode, but you know, it's okay to say that you were nervous in seeing him again, especially since there was a lot of shade thrown your way during his season.
True. And I don't think.
So did you want to address?
I don't think Zach meant to. I think he's just so boneheaded that when he talks about himself, he doesn't realize the collateral damage.
That, or you just like we'll sleep it under the rug and be friendly.
Yeah. Obviously, it was hard watching it because I did hear and see everything. It was hurtful, but in a way, like I know that he was just maybe relating it back to the only experience he had, and his feelings were valid and they were hurt. So I did just try to like take that into consideration, and I did text him during his season and reach out, and so we kind of did already make up. And so seeing him again today, obviously it's the first time I was a little nervous, but yeah, it was nice.
I will say, Rachel, you're the best at like reaching out and knowing that people have your support. And I think that means a lot, because it's like no message, DM or text like went unnoticed. I was like, hey, maybe I don't know you, but I'm here to support you. Like I know you've been really supportive with charity, and like you're just good at that. And like other guys from our season, you're good at being like kind of no hard feelings. I'm also a person you can lean on, and like I care about you as a person. Like you make it known, and I think that means a lot to people.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, I think it's always nice to see a DM from somebody, even if you don't know them, from the community.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It just does make you feel better.
It does. Yeah.
Speaking of DMs,
Okay, Gabby. Supposedly you slid into Ben's DMs
I
before
did.
he was with Jess.
Oh my
did
God,
you
I
guys
did.
talk about this?
It was like word vomit right when I pulled up. I'm like, I know Ben Higgins is somewhere on the premise, and I need to tell everybody that I slid into his DMs.
get it out there.
I gotta get it off my chest.
It might reemerge. You know what it would reemerge is like if you were to DM Ben now and be like, hey, thanks, great weekend.
Yeah.
It would come up.
I know. We checked. I deleted it because I'm 2 steps ahead. Yeah, I know. I was like harboring the secret for years, I feel. Because it's like we're like on parallel kind of paths. Like he's obviously a huge name. We just had a season. I'm like, when is someone going to find out I did the unthinkable? I DM'd. But he was like from Denver and I had seen him in Denver before. Never said that to his face. So like I knew where he lived. He thinks I didn't. I'm like, oh my God, where were you located?
Right, it just goes to show everyone can shoot their shot. Of course, Ben Higgins' now wife shot her shot, right? Didn't she slide in his DMs or he slid into hers? Either way, didn't work out for Gabby and Ben. But hey, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? All right, that's the tea from Rachel and Gabby. Am I missing anything here? Let me know. I'd love to hear your comments on if I'm overblowing things or if there's a clear riff between Gabby, Rachel, and Susie. Maybe I'm just bored on a Friday. I don't know, folks. Have a good one, everybody. We'll be back with more content. Don't forget this afternoon, check out Bachelor Rush Hour, the hit podcast.